Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is 903 Sports. I'm your host, Cameron Brown, joined by the boys, Hunter Shattuck and Jeffrey Yeager. Another football weekend in the books. Not as exciting as last weekend, the wildcard weekend. The divisional round, the games were not quite as competitive. We started off the Jacksonville Jaguars at Kansas City. The Chiefs win 27-20. It was a comfortable win in the second half. The big story coming out of that game is Pat Mahomes being injured. That ankle injury looked bad. I mean, the defender fell right on his ankle. I can't believe it didn't snap. But he didn't play for the rest of the second quarter, came back second half and played pretty well. But is he going to play this week against Cincinnati? Because that ankle is going to keep swelling up. We'll see about that. And then after that, we had the Eagles demolish the Giants, 38-7. Giants were out of that game in the first 5 minutes. Had a lot of Georgia TCU vibe, just NFL edition that game. That was a complete beatdown, complete mismatch. And then Sunday, what I thought was going to be the game of the year, Cincinnati at Buffalo in the snow, Bills got dominated. The Bengals, 27-10 in Buffalo's house, take them down to move on to the AFC Championship. And in the night game, and a game we're going to spend a lot of time talking about, the San Francisco 49ers, for the second year in a row, beat the Dallas Cowboys, this time 19-12. Dak was awful, had 2 back-breaking interceptions. The defense played well, but had some big opportunities for some big stops, couldn't come up with them. They couldn't get the run game established once Pollard went out. Maher missed another extra point. Kellen Moore called a terrible game, and Dallas is out. Jeffrey Yeager, you're foaming at the mouth to talk about the Cowboys. I can see it. Is this all on Dak from Sunday's loss and the Cowboys headed home again?
Yes. I watched that whole game, and Micah Parsons was great. In fact, I remember watching the first half of the game and being like, last week's pod, I said, Brock Purdy is really the Achilles heel if you want to win a playoff game versus the 49ers. I said, the whole time Brock Purdy's been starting, he hasn't really looked like he's been put in uncomfortable situations. Kyle Shanahan just tells him, hey, here's what we're going to do. He gets great blocking from the line, especially Trent Williams. He feeds it to where it needs to go. He makes the right pass. He doesn't make any mistakes. It's all just kind of, a big equation. And I said if the Cowboys wanted to win that game, they had to make Brock Purdy uncomfortable, make him make mistakes that are just experience mistakes that everyone makes, that you just can't avoid. You get pressure. You think, oh no, your adrenaline goes up. You try and make a pass. You should.
Uh-oh, we lose Yeag.
Yeah, I think we lost him.
Utah signal. Sad. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, look, to kind of piggyback with what he said, what I said on the pod last week was.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, I'm back.
All right, sweet. Go ahead.
Finish your thought, and then I'll go.
So that was really the thing, was to make Brock Purdy uncomfortable, and Micah Parsons was doing just that. They were getting to him. 19 points. If you think about it, for San Francisco in these last 5-6 games, that's really, really low for them.
Very low.
Really, really low. And outside of the Christian McCaffrey touchdown where he walked it in, all of the points that San Francisco got were hard-earned. I mean, hard-earned points. You saw them just have to battle for every one of them. Dak throws 2 picks. One of them is on their own 30-yard line. He missed a lot of shots. I think it is 100% on Dak, especially 12 points, bro.
Terrible.
Like, you have to, as an NFL quarterback with that caliber of offense, you have to at least put up 20 in a game, every game. You can throw a couple picks, but you've got the offensive firepower to be able and still go put up 20 points, even with 2 picks. It is 100% on Dak.
The game really ended when Tony Pollard went down in the first half with the injury, and then Dak throws a pick the very next play, and the Niners end up getting a field goal out of it and take the halftime lead 9-6.
Yeah.
But again, after that, I believe it was 9-6 maybe, and the Cowboys punted and the Niners muffed the punt. Dallas takes over in the red zone, start the drive, and they only get 3 points. It was just the little things. I mean, Dallas had so many chances to win that game. My two keys were make Brock Purdy beat you and get off to a good start. And they did not get off to a good start with the terrible interception that Dak threw in their own 20-yard line. And that's inexcusable. That can't happen if you're Brock Purdy. If you're Jimmy G, Zach Wilson, doesn't matter who you are. You can't make that's horrible. A horrible interception.
Well, you know what's interesting is I find it funny that Dak keeps throwing that same interception. If you think back to the Washington Commanders game, do you remember the one corner where they tried to throw the little like 7 hitch to the sideline and the Washington corner dropped it in his arms? And then the very next play, they threw the exact same route and the corner went in and got it that time and took it back. I mean, that was the same pick, the first one with the Niners. It was, that left side hitch to the outside, back to the sideline, and Dak just threw it and it was a softball toss for the defender to go out and pick it.
The throw's not good, but the play calling is so predictable. I mean, you just pointed out how often they run that predictable curl.
Yeah, it seems
obviously it's a terrible throw. I'm not defending Dak. It was an awful throw, but there's a reason why defensive backs are jumping that route. It's because it's so frequent. I mean, these guys are really good defenders. If you run the same route over and over again, they're going to begin to jump it. And then Dak's poor decision-making just piles on.
Yeah. I mean, you think these guys...
receiver one read kind of throws that are just killing him. And he can have a game like he had against Tampa last week that keeps you coming back to Dak. I mean, like, that guy is in him somewhere. Like, that $160 million performance that he had last week against Tampa Bay. I know Tampa Bay's not a playoff team. It's there. When they beat Minnesota 40-3 in their building, that's when I was like, man, Dallas is for real. But then he has a game like he did against the Niners. They're paying you $160 million, superstar franchise QB, and you can't beat Mr. Irrelevant in the NFL draft. No disrespect to Brock Purdy. He's got a great story. Something's clicking with him in the offense, but he's not a Hall of Fame, world beater, max contract quarterback. He does.
Rookie's a rookie, bro.
It doesn't turn
okay, but I don't want to be defending the Cowboys here, believe me. But if you took the quarterbacks off of the two rosters and just looked at everybody else, San Francisco would still have the better team, and it's not even close. Yeah, so to say that Dak can't beat Brock Purdy is a little bit unfair because the 49ers have the best non-quarterback roster in the NFL. So that's not wholly fair,
But in a game where your defense only gives up 19 points.
That's true. Yeah.
All you got to do is squander up 20 points in that game to win. In one drive.
Yeah, again, I'm not excited to be defending the Cowboys, but it's not just a Prescott is better than Purdy, therefore the Cowboys should win.
I've always been a Dak guy. I was always a Romo guy when everyone clowned him. I was a Dak guy all the way up until the last few games of the season. Really, in the Washington game was a disaster. And then after this one, I'm like, man, I don't think you can win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott. I genuinely just don't think you can do it. And I hate to say that, and I tweeted it out after the game. Dak Prescott is Kirk Cousins. They're overpaid. They're solid NFL quarterbacks. They're going to win you games. They're going to get you to the playoffs. But they're going to crumble in the big games. They're going to have a couple bad interceptions, make some poor decisions. And that's that. They're not.
I mean, he's not Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins
has had a good NFL career.
Kirk Cousins this year? 23rd in QBR, 24th, something like that. The last 3 full seasons for Dak have been 11, 11, and 14. That's not great, but that's not Kirk Cousins either. He's definitely an above average NFL quarterback.
I would say Kirk Cousins is above average as well. Derek Carr, you can put them in the mediocre range right there.
I think I'd rather have Derek Carr than Kirk Cousins. That's beside the point. That's not the point. So you kind of talked about some turning points in the game last night. There was one sequence that really did it for me. I can't remember if it was the beginning of the fourth quarter or the end of the third. But Dallas had the ball. It was 4th and 5 on like the 40-yard line. I don't think it was within field goal range, and we don't need to talk about the field goal kicker. But I was standing up saying, go for it. We got to go for this. Took the delay game, punted it away, and it was a good punt, got him inside the 10. And then there was that long pass to Kittle where he kind of juggled it, and then Diggs just whiffed on the hit. If he makes contact with Kittle there, Kittle drops the ball. That's not going to be a completion. Kittle was still juggling it, and Diggs just whiffed. Now, I've heard people saying that he was scared of getting a flag and all that. Like, I get the flag.
No one's
Don't let
more
him
afraid
catch
of
the football.
contact than Trayvon Diggs. No one.
Don't let him catch the football. And then later in the drive, there was that tipped interception that hit Diggs right in the hands and he dropped it. And
Yep.
so
Yeah.
the game is on Dak. I agree with you, Jeff. But there was that sequence the whole time the defense was keeping the offense in it. And then it was just like they couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, they
And
folded.
there was the poor coaching decision, I thought, with taking the delay game and not going for it on that 4th and 5, and then allowing a 91-yard touchdown drive with the missed hit on Kittle and then the missed pick, both by Diggs. I mean, it was like a perfect storm of bad things that happened in that one drive.
Yeah, and we talked about it during that. That changed the entire game. That call, I was okay with punting because your defense was playing so well that you can pin them deep. Maybe you stop and get the ball back right where you are on the 50, a new set of downs. But it didn't work, so you ended up making the wrong decision. It's like when you play blackjack and you hit on 16, and the dealer flips over an ace or something like that, and you lose. Like, you made the wrong call. Like, I agreed with it at the time, but you played it safe and you lost. If they would have punted that ball and then Dallas would have gone quick 3 and out, got the ball back at the 50, it would have been a great decision. It didn't work out.
Yeah.
They got to live with that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you. But I mean, I don't agree. I was against it at the time because I really thought, we're not really going to get that many opportunities inside like San Francisco territory. Just the offense wasn't moving the ball. So I thought we had to keep it going. But I mean, it's not a unforgivable call. I mean, I can see what you're saying. Like, okay, yeah, the defense is playing well. That's fine. But I wanted to go for it.
At the end of the day, it's just he made the wrong call.
Yeah, it didn't work.
It just didn't work. Exactly.
That's how it works.
He has to live with that. And he can think, man, if I would have went for that, who knows what would have happened in that game if they go for that and get it. Changes the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
That was my main point, is that play right there, that decision to punt, and then Dallas defense folding changed the entire football game.
It was over.
Yeah, it was over after that. Because Dallas couldn't get anything going on offense after that. The offense was a joke after that.
Yep.
So let me ask you this, Hunter. Is this year's loss worse than last year's? I thought last year's team was better.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Yeah, I'm going to go. Last year's loss was worse because it was at home. It was coming off the bye. The team I thought was better. I thought that the actual chances of winning a Super Bowl were better last year than this year because the Eagles are really good. And then whoever comes out of the AFC is going to be really tough to beat. So I actually had higher hopes of winning a Super Bowl last year, and the team was better. So last year sucked worse. I think the real question is, we were talking about it before we started recording, which final play was worse? The Dak letting the clock run out last year, or the Zeke getting trucked playing center this year?
Last year's play was worse. This year's play was dumb, if that makes sense. Because you're not going to score no matter what they do at the end of the play of this game. You just look like idiots. Last year they were on like the 25. Like, they were in
that's true.
range. And then he's just running in the middle of the field with no timeouts. So that was worse. But this year was dumb. You line up Zeke, which could be Zeke's last play ever as a Cowboy, as center. He just gets pancaked by the defensive lineman.
His Football Reference page is going to have one play lined up as center.
Yeah, that was, I don't know, that was rough. Yeg, what do you think?
I think this year's play was not only dumber but also worse. Like, you didn't even, like, bro, you give it to Turpin, who is fast. I mean, real fast. You want to know another thing, bro? Well, I'll get it. I don't know. That's too much of a what if. Anyway, last year, I really don't disagree with Dak scram. I still support that. I think if they had been able to get up and get enough time, I think it was the right play.
Go down a
bunch. Yeah, I mean, that just, that sucks. I mean, they did it and spiked it, and like it was a matter of like a half second. Like, I still think it was the right play. I don't think it was terrible. I remember everyone calling for McCarthy's neck after that last year, and I was like, honestly, I didn't hate it. This year, I hated it. First off, and again, and this is another thing that I think goes back to Dak, is He had 2 chances in the last 3 minutes of game clock to be able to drive down and tie it up or win if they go for 2.
How about
He
him
got it
almost
back.
taking a sack on the first play of that last drive? Or taking a safety, I mean.
That should have been a safety.
Yeah, it was like the defender was just surprised that he was right there in the end zone.
He was right there. It shocked him. Yeah.
I think the defender thought that Dak was going to huck it, and he didn't want to get a penalty.
It's like,
and so he didn't tackle him.
Surely this guy's not going to be dumb enough to let me hit him in the end zone. Surely.
Yeah. I think Dak, there's just guys that have it and there's guys that don't, and Dak just doesn't. And there was actually one thing when they took that delay of game. I remember watching Dak and being like, this guy just doesn't have the dog. And it was because he lined up in the shotgun and he was trying to get them to go off sides, but his attempts to hard count them were just weak. I mean, it was like I could have predicted. He just lift his leg up real slow, hike. And I was like, man, this guy needs to like figure it out or go pump some iron or remember that he's a man, because he just looks weak. And there were a lot of things about Dak on Sunday. I was like,
Let me ask you this, Yake. So what do they do from here? They've got like 25 free agents, and Tony Pollard's one of them. What does Dallas do from here? Because I called my dad after the game and was like, I do not know how Cowboys fans do this every year. People of our generation that had the Cowboys haven't been good in 30 years as far as Super Bowl good. As a Jets fan, at least I know what we're going to get. We're going to be crap. We're going to win 5 games, is what it is. Next year, let's do it again, draft, whatever. The Cowboys are good. You got it in the back of your mind, like, I don't know if I believe in them. But they win those few games, those few big games. They beat Tampa, and you're like, okay, here we go. Dallas Cowboys, Super Bowl, back on. And they go out and embarrass themselves like they did against San Fran. And now you're like back in the same circle. They have the same questions as they going into next year. Is Zeke the guy? Is Dak the guy? Is McCarthy the guy? We're tired of Jerry Jones. We need this. We don't have any receivers. Same thing over and over and over again. So what do they do now, Jeff?
I mean, if you want my honest opinion, it'll never happen, but I think this is the ideal situation. Is someone locks Jerry Jones in a cellar and you go get Mike Tomlin to be your head coach. And that's what I'm saying is it's never going to happen. But I think the Cowboys need the Mike Tomlin treatment where it's like, hey, if you don't show up, you're done, and I think that's the thing with the Cowboys. It's the same problem I have with the University of Texas, the college football team. I think the problem is they lose and they go home and they don't feel bad about it. They say, oh, we're still the Longhorns. Oh, we're still the Cowboys. We're America's team. We're, the highest grossing college program in the nation. It's like they just rely on the fact that like they've been entitled to so many things. I think it's a culture thing. I think the Cowboys, their problem is they go back to Dallas and everyone loves them and Jerry tells them they're great and they're sweethearts and nothing's wrong with them. And then they just, I think it's a lack of accountability.
Do you have any suggestions that are like real? I mean, Mike Tomlin's never going to leave the Steelers, not for all of King Midas's silver. So give me something that's somewhat realistic.
I think you're stuck with Dak's contract, so he's your quarterback. I don't think
no doubt.
Huh?
No doubt about it. They're stuck with Dak no matter what.
And does Zeke have another year?
I think so. Done? No, Zeke has another
year. Dak only has one more guaranteed year.
Zeke has another year, and his contract is too big to get rid of him. I think you get Tony Pollard healthy. You trade him for picks.
So bad, dude. Zeke is so bad.
He is bad, but I think you trade Tony Pollard for picks. As soon as Zeke's year is done, you go draft another. You go draft another running back. I think you tell Dak. I mean, you're stuck with Dak. It's like the Vikings. They were stuck with Kirk and his contract, and you just like you have to hope and pray. I don't know. I think I think we're going to be back here next year in the exact same situation where the Cowboys go 11-6 and they lose in the first or
Yeah,
second
and
round.
they'll lose in the division. They'll do it again next year. It was funny because I sent this podcast to Hunter, and it was the same date of the last year's pod that we were talking about Dallas losing to the Niners, and I sent him that pod. And here we are again, talking a year later, talking about Dallas losing to the Niners. It is a repeated just cycle that they do. So, Hunter, what do you think? What do they do next?
All right. So I spent a lot of time thinking about this. And the way I see it, you got 4 key players in this. You've got Dak and Zeke, and then you've got the head coach and the offensive coordinator. I could see there being arguments for all 4 of those needing to be changed. And as a fan, if none of them have changed by next season, I'm done. I'm done. If we run out Dak, Zeke, McCarthy, and Kellen Moore, I'm not watching a game. I can't do it anymore. It's awful. So you got to change at least one of them. My vote would be would get rid of McCarthy, but I would have never hired him in the first place. But think about this, right? So we've discussed how Dak is not a superstar. I still think he's good. I mean, he's better than Brock Purdy.
He's a good quarterback.
He's better than Daniel Jones.
Yeah, for sure.
And think about what a coach has done with those guys, right? So why can't we bring in somebody who can do something similar with Dak? Shanahan has turned Brock Purdy into a very serviceable quarterback. Brian Daboll turned Daniel Jones into a good quarterback, not just serviceable. And Dak Prescott is better than Daniel Jones. But we've got Mike McCarthy who can't count to 6, and he doesn't know what to do with Dak. And so why can't we bring in somebody like Sean Payton who knows how to handle a quarterback, and maybe they can get the best out of Dak Prescott? Let's do that.
I just think the problems with Dak is I don't know if you can coach out of him those bad interceptions.
But they were not always there. Do you remember his first season? He went like 9 games in a row without a pick and set a rookie record in the NFL. It's not like
last 3.
Since McCarthy got there. It's since Mike McCarthy showed up, Dak has been throwing picks. I
don't know. The end of Jason Garrett got pretty bad too.
Oh, well, Jason Garrett.
But that again was Jason Garrett.
But I mean, he started with Garrett. I just don't think he has these bad decisions. He's not Brett Favre. He's not a gunslinger by nature. He's just something's not clicking. You can tell there's a lot of miscommunication with the receivers. There's something in the game plan, in the playbook that's not clicking with him and the receivers. And like we're saying, we're stuck with Dak. I mean, I love Dak, so I'm not mad about that. But we're stuck with him, whether we like it or not. And so it's much easier to change the play caller or the head coach than it is to change the quarterback. So we got to change something.
And speaking of the receivers, then we'll move on to the next game. Dallas missed Amari Cooper in that game more than they did at any game this year. That trade, getting a 5th rounder for Amari Cooper, and he had a great year for Cleveland this year. One of the dumbest moves I've ever seen. I don't know why they wanted to move off Amari Cooper so badly. Yeah, he was a little overpaid, and they maybe wanted that off the books. I don't know, but
Dallas has made it clear they don't care about overpaying skill players.
Yeah, I mean, it was a mess. Dak was just begging to get the ball to CeeDee Lamb because nobody else was open. Yeah. And then, like you said, a lot of miscommunication. The miscommunication with T.Y. Hilton. I saw the breakdown when he was wide open on a seam route. Then T.Y. was mad at him on the sidelines. He didn't see him. A lot of miscommunication.
Yep.
And that's big.
And I'll tell you what, one last thing. You know who's getting off easy on this is Dalton Schultz, who only put 1 foot in bounds on that last drive, the second to last play. I mean, not that it would have made a difference. It would have still been a Hail Mary from 55 yards out. But put another foot down. I mean, what are we doing?
So bonehead. And it's the Cowboys can't – they just do the most Cowboys thing ever in these playoff games. It's like, what happened to your fundamentals? And maybe that's Mike McCarthy. Maybe it is McCarthy. But, I mean, it's just peewee football stuff with Dallas. And
something's got to change. I can't keep doing this. Like you're saying, it's the same story every year.
Every year.
Something's got to give.
Yep.
I don't understand why it's so hard to see. I mean, surely we're not the only ones that see that something has to change. I don't really care what it is, but something's got to change.
Something's got to move. I don't know what it's going to be, and to be honest, I don't think they're going to do anything. I think they're going to pat themselves on the back for that wild card win against Tampa Bay and roll the same team out next year.
Yep.
And they're going to do the same finish they had this year. Dallas is good enough to win 10, 11 games next year with that roster. That defense is great. Michael Parsons is a top 10 player in the NFL right now. I was watching the game with Mason, and I told him, I said, just watch Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
He is
throwing that tackle around, throwing him around.
Yes.
He's a bad man.
Yeah,
Micah
Parsons is a generational talent at defensive end.
He's insane.
I was joking with a buddy that I was watching it with, and I said when Pollard got hurt, I said, why not just put Micah Parsons at running back? The dude runs like a 4.5, and he is a house. I mean, just run him up the middle.
A lot better than Zeke, dude. Zeke's awful.
I feel bad for Zeke, too. I mean, I like Zeke. It's not like I hate the guy. But
if he wasn't the heart and soul of the team back in 17, 18 when they were having those good runs, he'd be gone 2 years.
He just doesn't. That's what sucks is it's not like he's always been a bad player. I mean, he was unbelievable, and he just doesn't have it anymore.
But as a running back, when you lose it, you lose it. It doesn't come back. Just ask Todd Gurley.
Yep, that's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah, when they lose it, it's gone. It's a tough position to get hit so many times, and Zeke just doesn't have that pop anymore. Yep. So another long offseason for the Cowboys. We'll move on and talk about let's touch on this Jags-Chiefs game real quick. There wasn't a whole lot to talk about. If Mahomes doesn't play this week, man, the Chiefs are in big trouble. And I will say, props to my man, Chad Henne. 725-year-old Chad Henne coming in and having a huge touchdown drive to give them the 17-7 lead, and they won by 7. It turned out to be huge.
Yes.
Just in case people don't realize how old Chad Henne is, he was the Michigan quarterback when they lost to App State in that miracle blocked extra point years ago.
What was that, 2007?
2006, 2007, a long time ago. So there's a very real chance Pat could come out and give it a shot and just not be able to walk on that ankle because that injury looked bad.
Well, and he didn't roll it the way people usually roll their ankles. He rolled it in.
Yeah.
Which is not good.
Oh, it looks so gross. So I will say this, props to Jacksonville, man. What a hell of a year they had after a firestorm last year. Trevor Lawrence first year, Urban Meyer being the idiot scumbag he is, coming in there. They won 3 or 4 games. Come this year, finish the year on like a 5-game win streak, win your division, make the playoffs, come back down 27-0 on the Chargers. Hell of a finish for the year for the Jags. And they went toe-to-toe with the Chiefs in that game for a little while.
Yes. You think there's any chance Trevor Lawrence becomes the next good AFC quarterback? Like, do you think there's a chance he ends up with like the Justin Herbert area where, you know, he's not Burrow and he's not Mahomes, but he's still really good?
I think Lawrence will be a QB for a long time. He's an NFL quarterback, no doubt. He just, the turnovers really gets him, man. Like, he's kind of a poor man's Brett Favre right now. Like, he can make the wild throws, but he'll throw 3 picks real quick. And that happened in the Chargers game in the first half, and then he did the 360 turnaround and came back.
Yeah.
He's got the talent. I mean, he's number 1 pick in the draft for a reason. He's got the tools. I think he's got to tone down on the turnovers, and they don't have a lot of weapons there, man. You can say what you want about Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram and those guys. Those aren't Super Bowl talent.
Don't forget about Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, and Calvin Ridley. Oh, that is a good point. I forgot about that. Yeah. That's going to help them a lot, man. Calvin Ridley.
Yeah. Well, he's been suspended this whole year, right?
I forgot about that. Yeah, I forgot that the Falcons dumped him off in Jacksonville. Interesting. Good point.
I mean, that's a sneaky good move for Jacksonville.
That is a sneaky good move for Jacksonville. And that defense is really young coming along. Yeah. Jacksonville's got the pieces, man.
They might be good next year. They might be actually good next year.
The AFC South's not good. The Texans are horrible. The Colts are in rebuild. They don't have a quarterback. And they've got a bunch of bad offensive line contracts up there. And then the Titans look like their window's closed on them. And they're going to have to move on from Ryan Tannehill if they don't want to bring him back next year. So I don't know. That's the Jaguars division right now. So we'll move on. Let's talk. Let's finish with the Bills game because I got a lot to say about the Buffalo Bills. Giants Eagles. Hunter, I'll ask you. That was a complete blowout? Was that more about Philly being that good, or the Giants being a lot farther away than we thought they were?
I think it's. I mean, obviously the answer is both. Philly looked like a juggernaut.
They look good, man.
With that being said, so did the Cowboys last week.
True.
And when you play a bad team on a bad day, you can look really, really good. And so, I mean, yeah, the Eagles looked great, but they played a team that had been overachieving, and it looked like the carriage turned back into a pumpkin for the Giants. You know, they lost it. And unfortunately, they were playing one of the best teams in the NFL. And so I think it was more about the Eagles, but not by a whole lot because the Giants were exposed.
I'm so mad at myself for betting on the Giants because I said on the pod last week, those corners are going to give those no-name receivers L in that game. And it's
did.
going to make Danny Dimes look terrible. And it did. The Giants couldn't get the run game going. They had to rely on the pass way too much. And they were either getting sacked or going a quick 3 and out. Philly's ball, Philly scores, and it's 21-0 just like that. And you're like,
yeah, you watch Daniel Jones just run around back there. He had nowhere to throw the ball.
Nothing.
Nowhere.
He had nothing. So I don't know where I stand if I'm a Giants fan. I'm a little worried. But at the end of the day, this whole run was cake for the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this was all – they were not supposed to be this good. I'm worried if they can't bring back Saquon and Daniel Jones if I'm a Giants fan, though, because both those guys could be gone. They can't come to agree.
Where they're in a pickle is if they can't agree with Daniel Jones to a contract, because then you'll have to franchise tag him, and then you can't use the franchise tag on Saquon. So they need to agree to an extension with Daniel Jones so then they can franchise tag Saquon Barkley.
I will say this, though. I'm not giving Daniel Jones $30 million. I'm just not doing it. I'll give him 22, 24. I'm not giving him $30 million and getting stuck.
I'd give him 30.
I just don't want to be like the Vikings and the Cowboys paying these guys 30, 40 million just to go out in the wild card every year. I'm just not going to do it.
If Daniel Jones gets 30 million, he better give half of that for Brian Dable for saving his career.
I agree. Look, Danny Dimes,
I'd give him 30 million. In this quarterback market, I'd give him 30 million.
If you ask the Vikings about that, they'd tell you I would not do this. I do not want to be stuck in this $200 million contract with an average quarterback paying them superstar money.
So think about the weapons that Kirk Cousins has compared to the weapons that Daniel Jones has. If you put Daniel Jones with the receivers that Cousins has, he would look like an all-pro. I genuinely believe Daniel Jones is a much better quarterback than Kirk Cousins. I genuinely believe it, and hopefully
Daniel Jones is Kirk Cousins.
Hopefully he gets a couple. He's Kirk Cousins with legs, is what he is, which makes him better than Kirk Cousins, in my opinion. I hope we see him get some weapons this offseason because I have a theory that he's actually a good NFL quarterback, and hopefully we can see it next year. Maybe just give him one good receiver, just one.
That is true. Because he has none.
He doesn't even have decent receivers. No. If you made an all-star team between them and the Bengals top 3 receivers would be head and shoulders better than the Giants' number 1 option.
By a landslide.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
I will say if you're a Giants fan, I wouldn't be worried at all. I mean, if you had told Giants fans before the season, hey, you're going to have a winning record and you're going to win in the wild card round.
On the road.
And then on the road, and that's going to be your season. And guess what? Daniel Jones is going to be your quarterback that whole time. It's not like you're going to have Patrick Mahomes come in and say, hey, I want to go to New York. I think if you're a Giants fan preseason, you heard that, you'd be like, there's no way. That would be awesome.
Yeah,
and I think you have a lot. I think you have a lot. If you're a Giants fan, I think you have a lot to be stoked about because Brian Dable is there.
Yeah, man, it wasn't a great night for Brian Daboll. He made it he went for it on 4th and 8 early, and the game was pretty much over after that.
Yeah, I mean that's just how it is.
Yeah,
the Eagles, I think,
Eagles are really good.
The
man.
Eagles
they
are just
really,
so
really
good. They're
you
so
want to know
good.
Who the biggest loser of this weekend is the Tennessee freaking Titans for giving them AJ Brown and watching him ball out week after week after week with Philadelphia. And they are stuck missing the playoffs because they don't have any receivers over there. This is way off topic. But Philadelphia is freaking loaded, man. That defense, they have the best offensive line in football. Jalen Hurts is blossoming one of the best QBs in the league. You got A.J. Brown. You got 2 stud corners in Bradbury and Darius Slade. Philly's got it all, man. And I think Nick Sirianni's turned out to be a pretty good football coach as well.
And another kind of off-topic point here. It's becoming so obvious how important a really good receiver is to a young quarterback.
Big
you just talked about how Jalen Hurts is blossoming into a quarterback, but who did you just say that they added last offseason?
A.J. Brown.
Exactly.
And Devontae Smith's getting a lot better.
And what happened to Josh Allen? Not only Brian Dable, but they added Stephon Diggs.
Yep.
Joe Burrow has 3 legit all-pro contender wide receivers.
Yep.
I mean, these young quarterbacks are surrounded by talent. And that's what I'm saying about Daniel Jones. Give the man a receiver. At least one. Just one. That's all we ask. Just a receiver. Yeah.
They will definitely go get one. I guarantee you that. They're not rolling that receiving group back out there.
Just don't come for CD because Jerry probably give him up for a 4th rounder.
Exactly. And that's another point. CD makes Dak look really good, man. CD was all Dak had in that game.
Why on earth would the Cowboys give up CD Lamb?
Oh, they're not.
Eric Jones, man. You just never know.
Well, I mean, no, we're not going to trade CD Lamb. That was ridiculous to say. But I didn't see us trading Amari Cooper either. That came out of nowhere.
That was dumb. That's a good point, Hunter. These receivers make these QBs. I mean, just ask Geno Smith and how much he relied on DK Metcalf this year in Seattle.
Yeah.
The number one weapon like that is huge.
Yeah. I've been drafting DK Metcalf in fantasy ever since his rookie year, and this was by far the best year.
He's a wagon. Yeah, ask Brock Purdy how much he enjoys giving the ball to McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel all the time. Yep. Greg Kittle.
Going back to the Calvin Ridley thing, man, he may turn Trevor Lawrence into something.
He might. Yeah, Calvin Ridley hadn't played in a while. Kid's a stud, though. He had a good first year in Atlanta.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on. Let's go Bengals-Bills. Probably the biggest storyline of the weekend if we didn't have Cowboys fans or if this wasn't a Texas podcast.
That was the freest money you'll ever see.
I love the
Bengals money line.
Look.
Because go ahead, Hunter.
We're not that smart, just as a whole.
Oh, we all did think about Bengals on the pod.
But we all said Bengals plus 5.5.
That was the freest money of all time.
When we three idiots agree on something, take it. All right? Let it be known. When we all say take this money, take it.
Yeah, Vegas had to get killed on that game because +6, I figured it's going to be a field goal game, or if it loses, Bills are going to win by a touchdown at the last second. I figured it's going to be a barn burner of a game, and it was over in the first half. Bengals drove down the field, scored. 3-and-out Bills. Bengals drove down the field and scored again. It's 14-0, just like that.
And then they recognized that DeMar Hamlin was in the stadium. Do that before kickoff. By the time they recognized that he was in the stadium and they put him on the jumbotron, they were down 2 scores. What are they supposed to do now?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I told Mason this, and the reason I like Cincinnati so much is the Buffalo Bills cannot run the football. And what do you need to do when it's snowing and 10 degrees outside? You need to run the ball. And I think their running backs had a combined 25 yards for the game. The Bills put too much on Josh Allen to go out, and he's their whole offense. The Bills go where Josh Allen goes. It's not like the Niners, and the Niners don't go where Brock Purdy goes. You know, they have their weapons, and they make Purdy look good.
Yeah, Purdy's just a
passenger. Josh Allen only. And if Allen's not having a good game, which he did, he missed a lot of big throws, couldn't get Stephon Diggs going. That was it. There's no run game to fall back on. There's no run the ball and then have some play action. There's none of that. And the Bills, again, are going out early in the playoffs. The Bills are the Cowboys of the AFC right now. They have all this talent. I'm telling you, they have all this talent. They have all this hype coming into the season. And look what they do. They're out before the AFC Championship for the 3rd year in a row. I'm telling you, Yag, they're the Cowboys of the AFC. They are frauds, the Buffalo Bills.
All right, let me ask you this. Is your rant over? I have a question.
Oh, let me make one more point. The Bills season died when they didn't trade for Christian McCaffrey.
Yep.
I was terrified when they were going to get him because they were the favorites. That fell apart. He went to San Fran. Okay, now I'm done.
Okay.
You want to
gun to your head. Life on the line. Over under 1/2 of a Super Bowl for Josh Allen.
Under is going to win 1, and it's going to be
0.5.
Oh, 0.5? I'll take over just because Josh Allen's good, man. He turns the ball over a lot, and we gave him hell in the last pod, but he's good. They're gonna win 1 eventually.
What do you think?
But it's going to be 1. Yag, you don't look very happy with my comments.
No, I think Josh Allen. I think it's going to be a lot like Aaron Rodgers. You know, he's going to get his 1, and then he'll kind of just be really, really good the rest of his career.
All talent, all hype, no rings.
So here's my pushback on that. I mean, I think Aaron Rodgers is a great comp, but I don't think Josh Allen's going to win a Super Bowl because think about the prime of Aaron Rodgers' career. He was kind of at the tail end of Peyton and in the prime of Brady, and they were in the AFC. Aaron Rodgers' biggest competition in the NFC was Drew Brees, and Lord knows he was going to choke in the playoffs. So Aaron Rodgers didn't really have that tough of a chance to get to the Super Bowl. You know, it wasn't a brutal road. Now you look at Josh Allen, and we spend all this time talking about the quarterbacks in the AFC. The fact of the matter is, he has to go through the best quarterbacks every single week in the playoffs. He played Joe Burrow last week. Had they won it, then it was going to be Pat Mahomes just to get to the Super Bowl, just to get to it, much less win it. So I think on talent, he probably deserves a Super Bowl. But man, I mean, to get through that gauntlet, I don't know.
You got Herbert for the Chargers. You got Trevor Lawrence coming in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
The Patriots are still the Patriots. I mean, AFC's loaded, man. You got if Sean Payton goes to Denver and turns Russell Wilson around, you got the Broncos.
I was gonna say, remember last year we were talking about how Russell Wilson was joining this crew in the AFC. Sorry, Peyton. I mean, Pete.
Sorry, Pete.
But man, boy, did that age cold.
Yeah, same thing with the Raiders. They had all this hype, and they were terrible. Watch Tom Brady may go to the Raiders, and then that's another team to have to deal with in the AFC.
Yeah.
He's loaded.
Yeah. I'm taking the under. Josh Allen's not going to win a Super Bowl.
I don't hate that.
Wow.
Bet. I'd take that.
That's
plus
crazy
400 right now. I don't know, man. The Bills, and look, I don't want to take anything away from Cincinnati because Cincinnati's a really good football team, and I don't think people bought into that until
they don't give Cincinnati enough respect.
They don't. These Vegas lines do not give them enough respect. That team is good.
Before the playoffs started, the Bengals were plus 900 to win the Super Bowl. And I looked at that and I was like, I was like, that is so much value.
Yeah.
Hey, just a thought I had. We were just talking about young quarterbacks and receivers. When the Bengals they still don't have an offensive line. But when they drafted Burrow, they could have protected him with an offensive line, which is conventional wisdom, right? Like you get a good quarterback, the first thing you got to do is protect him. The Bengals chose to draft receivers. They chose to go get weapons, and it has worked out.
Well, they also went and bought a bunch of really good linemen.
Yeah. Maybe not necessarily drafted, but they got weapons. And instead of going for protection, they got weapons, and it's worked. Do you think that
two good running backs?
Yeah. Do you think that might shift the way that teams try to build around a young quarterback in the future?
I don't know, because Philly's offensive line is so good, and they're winning. I think football's forever going to be won in the trenches. I think it's just going to stick like that. Like when the Rams won last year, they had the best offensive line in football.
Yeah. I have said
Tom had a complete force field in front of him when the Bucs won that Super Bowl.
Yes, I have been saying for years.
Yeah.
That if I was the general manager of an NFL team, every single draft, I would use my first round pick to take the best available lineman there is out there.
When
every
Dallas
single
was
year.
So good with Dak's rookie year and second year, that offensive line was the best in football, and it wasn't even close.
Yeah. No, you're right. That's why Zeke was so good.
But it is an anomaly with Cincinnati because their offensive line is so freaking bad, and they're
not even just average.
Yeah, they're horrible. They're going to get him killed.
No, the Cincinnati line is good now. They're very capable. Bro,
the only reason he doesn't get sacked, is because he has the ball out quicker than any other quarterback in the NFL.
Yes.
That's it.
Because he has to.
Yeah, the advanced numbers with the win rate on blocks, they're atrocious. Absolutely atrocious.
Their offensive line is bad. It's better than last year.
To their credit, they did try to get some guys in free agency on the offensive line, and then I think they've had some injuries or something. But
they got Leo Collins from Dallas.
Yeah, they have.
I mean, the Bengals have lost one of their starting linemen in each of the last 3 games before they played the Bills.
Yeah,
but
I mean, they were playing with a bunch of backup linemen, and Burrow was still only sacked once, just because he has the weapons that are open, like we were talking about with Daniel Jones. He doesn't have anybody to get open. So Burrow's got guys who are getting open, and he's really good at getting through his reads and finding those guys quickly, which is a pretty good Band-Aid for a bad offensive line.
No doubt.
Well, not only that, bro, but Burrow, dude, he's the complete package.
Yeah.
If you watch him, even when his line breaks down, he's so good with his footwork in the pocket, and he just doesn't get worried about looking around to see if he's going to get tackled. He's always got his eyes on field. Bro, the guy is he's collected. He is the epitome of collected.
So good.
Man, it's such a lazy take, but he reminds me so much of Tom Brady.
He does.
The way that he moves in the pocket, like you're just talking about, that's exactly what Brady used to do.
And he's got that it that very few people in this world have.
It's such a lazy take. I hate it. But man, the comparison
I don't
want
to compare him, but he's got a lot of similarities in that aspect.
More than any other young quarterback. He has a lot of Brady.
No doubt. All right, let's do a quick old school segment here of keep or banish. And then we'll do some preview of the game this weekend real quick and we'll jump off. So just real quick, Hunter, keep or banish your boy Daniel Jones. I'm guessing you're keeping.
I'm keeping him. I might even be willing to consider a shorter term deal, 2-3 years at like low 30s. I mean, I think another offseason with Brian Daboll and get a weapon or two around him. I think he's a good NFL quarterback.
I'm keeping him because it's so hard to find good young talented quarterbacks.
How much you paying him?
I'm telling him I'll give you $23 million. And if you're not taking it, then we'll go pay somebody else.
That's below league average.
No, there's no way.
No way what?
That's below league average.
I'm sure the franchise tag's 32 for a quarterback.
No chance.
Yes.
No, I'm giving him 23 and letting him walk. So then I'm banishing Daniel Jones then.
All right.
If that is the line, if he's going to command more than, I'll give him 25 max. Yay, keep or banish.
I'm franchising him and making sure that Saquon gets a deal.
They got to.
So you'd rather pay Saquon?
Oh yeah, I would rather pay Saquon, keep him there, because I think Saquon is more attractive to getting people to go play in New York than Daniel Jones is.
Fair point. All right,
like I think you'd.
Yates boy, Kirk Cousins. Banish.
I think Kirk Cousins has served his purpose for the Minnesota Vikings, which was keep them afloat, keep the organization, in a healthy way to where this doesn't become a dumpster fire, win the games you're supposed to. I think he's done what he was paid to do, and now Minnesota believes that they can go all the way, and Kirk is not going to take you there, so banish and go get someone else.
Banish. I will say this in Kirk's defense. He played well against the Giants. That last dump-off pass made him look like an idiot. But the Vikings defense is god-awful. That's their biggest problem in Minnesota. Because Kirk had a decent game. But when you throw a check down on 4th and 6 with your season on the line, that's everybody's like, yep, that's Kirk Cousins. Banish Kirk. Hunter?
Yeah, gone. Banish. Yeah. I've been saying that. He's been a recurring guest on Keep or Banish, and I've banished him every time.
Since the pod started, Kirk Cousins, reoccurring Keep or Banish guy. All right, last one is Dak Prescott. I'm going to say you keep Dak. This is if the contract doesn't exist.
Yeah, this is just a hypothetical universe. Would you rather start over next year with another quarterback?
Smell you, Dak. Have fun. Happy trails, brother.
Man, I hate to do it, but banish Dak. I'm banishing Dak.
Y'all are a bunch of haters. Y'all are just a bunch of haters.
Okay, hypothetical real quick, and we got to go. Would you rather have Dak Prescott or Derek Carr right now?
Dak Prescott. Next question.
Yay.
Would I rather have who?
Dak Prescott or Derek Carr?
On the Cowboys?
Yes, right now. Take out the chemistry, take out contract, take out all that.
I think they're pretty much the same.
That's such an insult to Dak Prescott. I mean,
I don't know, man. Derek Carr, I saw a stat, and I'm a Derek Carr hater. He's got the most fourth quarter comebacks of any quarterback in the last 7 years, I think is what it was.
Not only that means, but
that means he's been losing through the third quarter more than anybody.
Because the Raiders are terrible.
The Raiders defense is it's hot dog water on defense for the Raiders.
I'm banishing Dak. I'm banishing all three of those guys. All right, let's move on.
I got some quick QB salary numbers for you. So I was a little off on the average. I couldn't find a stat on the average, but there's no way I was right. But Ryan Tannehill is the 14th highest paid quarterback in the NFL at $29 million a year.
Way over. Wait, 14 at 29 a year?
Yes. Now it drops off pretty steep after that to a lot of guys in like the 12 to 15 million range, but there's nobody you'd want on your team at that range. So it's either guys on rookie deals or guys making 30 or more.
So that's pretty much he's getting 30 million. He's going to get it.
Absolutely. Either from the Giants or somebody else.
Which is crazy.
All right, games this weekend. Yay, give me both the picks for the games this weekend.
Bro, I love Cincinnati. I mean, they're rolling. And I think that Joe Burrow, like I said, he's so collected. I don't think going to Arrowhead affects him. I don't think going to Buffalo affects him. I don't think anything gets him off his game. And I love Cincinnati to win that game. I think Pat Mahomes, high ankle sprains are no joke, y'all.
Those
Like if
hurt.
you've ever,
Bad
and especially the way he bent that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, pro sports, they're going to have some medicine that is,
everything. Yeah.
He won't be able to
Yeah.
feel that ankle come kickoff, I promise.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying is he's gonna, they're gonna get him right. But I'm telling you, the Bengals, they're out for blood this postseason. And so I think the Bengals come out with the win, and I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Bengals win by like 4 or 7, one of the two. The other one's what? Philly and
Niners.
San Fran. Oh, I love Philly. I'm taking Philadelphia 110%. People are so disrespectful to the Eagles. They were talking about like Jalen Hurts is hurt. I think they fall apart. I think they lose in the first round, blah, blah, blah. Philadelphia believes. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles, they believe 100% that they are the best team in the NFL.
Who was the best team for the whole regular season, Who was the best record in the league?
It was the Philadelphia
Eagles. That's right. I'm picking
Jalen Hurts.
Go ahead. I'll let you finish though.
Jalen Hurts, him and Joe Burrow collected. But Jalen Hurts just looks like he has blood in his eyes. Like he wants to just I remember watching this video of him on the sideline with his receivers. It was 6-7 weeks ago. And it was this thing on, I guess, on the Hurdles Instagram. It was like Jalen Hurts is on a mission. And they're up just $1 billion on, I want to say it was like the Giants or the Commanders. They're killing them. And Jalen Hurts is sitting there in his jacket in the cold, just death glaring the field. And his receivers like Devonta Smith and AJ Brown and another guy are literally like cracking jokes and making like strip club throwing money motions. And Jalen Hurts is just unfazed. It looked like Kobe Bryant on the bench when Chris Rock was trying to get him to laugh.
They're talking to him. Iconic video.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, Jalen Hurts, he's going to literally mow down anyone that tries to get in his way at winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm picking the same two teams. I got Bengals and Philly this weekend. Philly is my lock of the weekend. I really like their offense. I think we're going to finally find out. This game right here is Brock Purdy's, are you our guy next year or not? We're going to find out in this game, or we'll stick somebody else in that position that can do it, because they're going to have to score Philadelphia in that offense. And I don't think he'll be able to do it. And not even if he's bad, he's just a rookie, man. That's such a big spot for a rookie that's only played 8 games in NFC Championship. So I'm taking Philly. I'm taking the Bengals. But as each day is going on this week, I'm getting more and more nervous about the Bengals, because the Chiefs should never be an underdog at Arrowhead. That is terrifying. Money is pouring in on the Bengals. So I don't know if that has to do more with everyone buying Cincy or this Pat injury or both. If Pat's not healthy, the Chiefs have no chance. But if he's able to get out there and play, man, that's going to be a hell of a game. Chiefs are a really good football team. So I'm taking the Bengals because they've been my team this whole playoff run, but I'm getting nervous about it. So, Hunter, I'll let you close it up with your picks.
All right. So I'm going to take Cincinnati and San Francisco, and here's why. My man, Football Pete, has a perfect bracket going right now through the NFL playoffs, and he has Cincinnati and San Francisco in the Super Bowl. So I'm riding with my man, Pete, and I'm going Cincinnati, San Francisco in the Super Bowl.
The perfect bracket. It is speed.
That's right.
Hey, that Niners defense is really good, man. They have a lot of catch.
That's what I'm excited to see. I mean, we've been talking about how good Jalen Hurts is. But we're going to see just how good he is.
The matchup of the weekend, that Philadelphia Eagles O-line against that Niners D-line is
how blessed are we, gentlemen? Those two matchups we have this weekend.
War in the trenches. A war. So, man. All right, guys, appreciate it. We will be back next week to recap these games, and next week is the worst week of the year because there is no football next weekend except for the lousy Pro Bowl. Everyone, thanks for listening. Enjoy some football this weekend. We will see y'all next week.